This is OG Star Wars, your Legends girl, trying to make it in this discounted world, and we are going to discuss The Mandalorian. I did not fully do a review on 2 and 3, and I did a quick, spare of the moment review on episode 1 when right after it came out in the middle of the night. Was in the middle of the night? So let's just go ahead and just discuss a little bit about The Mandalorian. And we all know that this is a Western themed type Star Wars movie, and it's circulating around the Mandalorian and the bounty hunters. And so we get that the Mandalorian is after the biggest bounty that others in the guild, the bounty hunter guild, is looking for, and that's the baby, which is a species of the species where Yoda comes from. And so he fulfills that mission in episode 1, and that episode was good. It kind of regressed a little bit with the Mandalorian character from being badass from the beginning in our classic Western bar scene, then going to extract the baby from the little headquarters where it's from. And we have that big old standoff kind of scene as well, where it seems like he wasn't as adept as we thought, if I can put that in those words, that he wasn't a quick fighter or quick thinker. In a sense, it felt like it was just a plain regression a little tiny bit, and maybe they were trying to make it look like he has faults, and that kind of made me feel as not confident in him as a Mandalorian when it's looking at the Mandalorian culture and how they are trained from babies. But then you see the backflashes, where he looks back to where it looks like his world, his city, or wherever he's from was being attacked, and it looks like it was being attacked by the Empire. And so going into episode 2, he now has Baby Yoda, and he's on a mission to return him to collect his bounty reward. And his ship is damaged by the Jawas. And the Jawas, and again, this is not established, it's on Tatooine. And so I am wondering how, if this is not Tatooine, in Disney canon, are Jawas like sand planet kind of people? And if they are, then we didn't see them on Jakku, but does it mean anything? However, when you look at the history of Tatooine in the original lore, after it got bombarded and turned into glass, then eventually into a sand world, the native species that was on there, the main one that survived, split into 2 factions, and we have the Sand People and the Jawas. And the new Jawas that we've seen have red eyes. So I'm very curious on why this change, and why are they using them if it's not Tatooine? Why are they still in sand crawlers if it's not Tatooine? Because it was also a mining world, and it wasn't very successful, as are maybe in the bombardment. I'm vaguely remembering, but the sand crawlers were left behind, and the Jawas repaired them and used them and fixed them up as their own transportation. Yes, they are scavengers, but I think they're still kind of prideful in a sense. But then I'm speaking on original EU lore. All right, so going back to the Mandalorians. And so the Jawas, he wants to get his armor back, and so the Jawas put up kind of like a fight, and it's all for comedy, and it's all for a little bit of action, and just to maybe world build on the Jawas. And eventually it all comes to a settlement, and they ask him to go fetch an egg. And so he does that, and this is where we get to the scene of the baby using the Force. And again, Yoda species were never expanded on. are the species Yoda's from was never expanded on. George Lucas made it clear. And so it's not even clear if that species is even very strong in the Force, but even if they are, it still doesn't make them a Force user that could easily use the Force as this little one did for its age. And so it takes me out it's just a disbelief for me. All right. And also too, I have other issues about the continuity when it comes to this baby, this Yoda species baby. And I'll touch on that later as the time goes. Once the series is over, then I will, and a conclusion comes to this baby, then I'll touch more on that. And so this baby lifts the creature up so that the Mando can basically go stab it and kill it. And you know, I joked about it looking like a cross between a mammoth and a rhino, and where he stabbed it, and being a family of hunters and where he stabbed it, it didn't make sense for it to die. So that right there, that's just maybe a little nitpick, but it's just what I observed. And so he killed and got the egg, took it to Jawas, they all ate it. He got his armor, repaired his ship, turned in the baby, got a conscience, wanted it back. And so this is where I refer back to the Mandalorian being like a Fett character. And I was like, I did a previous video and it sounded like I was in water when I was talking. And so, but what I said is the Mandalorian is fetish. And so that was kind of funny. It's not funny now. I mean, you had to see the actual video. I might cut out the clip just for the hell of it. But so his character is very much like the Fetts. And Boba Fett, yes, he's a no-nonsense guy in the original lore. However, he does have morals and standards. And so, again, go back and read about the Fetts, read about the Mandalore in the EU, the original EU. You know, just to get a more clear picture on where they were going with the Mandalorians and now what they're doing with them. And it's a great read anyways. It's a great story. It's a great set of people, you know, their culture, their clans, you know, they have like a ruler, but basically it's not like what we would perceive as one. So it's a great development with the Mandalorians. And with Filoni's Mandalorians, he turned them more into passive, and we see that in the Clone Wars. So I'm getting to that point here. So he turns in the bounty and gets a conscience and wants it back. And he does, and he successfully gets him back. He actually gets his Beskar, his reward. He goes into the smith and she crafts up some more armor for him with the Beskar. And we then start seeing a little bit more of the history of the Mandalorians in Disney canon being developed through their stories and what she's sharing, and asking him if he ever took off his helmet, and he's like, no, not even in a fight, it's never came off. And they, you know, chant, "This is the way," or something like that. I have to go back and watch that again. And now that chant is like, seems like every time they're going to do something, it feels like they're going to chant that. And to me, that's cultish. And I never seen the Mandalorians as a cult. I seen them more as a warrior society, as a warrior culture. And if they're trying to go as in my culture where we say hokahe, which means like, it's a saying we say like, we're ready, let's do this kind of thing. Or we're excited, let's get this done kind of thing. And it's, I wouldn't be surprised because it is a Western. And yeah, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around, that. And then so more as she as she fixes up and fashions his armor from the Beskar, he starts getting flashbacks again about himself. And so these flashbacks look like, you know, like I said, Empire occupying and maybe kidnapping and destroying his world or his city or whatever. And we could see how much he's affected by that. And it's showing little by little what's going on, ending up with him inside a box, and it opening and seeing a battle droid. And so we have that. And then we also find out that the Mandalorians basically after the purge. So I don't know if they mean the Jedi purge, or they said the Great Purge. So I looked this up, and the Clone Wars was leading up to where the siege of Mandalore. And as of right now, the Republic has occupation, and they are basically what they say, and this is called soft occupation, with the new Mandalorian puppet leader ruling the planet. And this is right before, and the siege is basically when Emperor Palpatine follows up, comes in and ends the Republic. And so I'm thinking that during that siege, he went and destroyed maybe Concord Dawn and Mandalore and stuff. I don't know. So maybe that will be expanded more in the Clone Wars when it comes out. But that was the season 7 right there that was supposed to happen. So maybe we'll get more of that. So I'm very, very curious. But my thing with this is that Mandalorians are not a warrior culture that will just hide and hide in fear and not stand up for themselves, not want to rebuild. When we see the original EU, the Mandalorian culture is basically not just human species, but they also adopt other species. They build their families through marriage and all, but they also build them through adoption of people, species, beings, and they raise their kids as fighters, even their girls. And so this kind of is confusing to me in a sense. So we'll see what the Clone Wars brings when they air the last season. Yeah, so we get that, and then so we get a sense that the Mandalorians don't come out, or only come out one by one, because maybe there's too few of them, or they're just in fear of the Empire, which is basically I just don't get really Mandalorians in fear of the Empire. Okay, so he leaves, he goes, gets the baby Yoda, and it's a big fight. And boom, we see all the Mandalorians come out with their jetpacks and everything to help out. So that was like that little climax, I guess you can say, of them saying we only come out one at a time, and they're saying, well, the Empire no longer rules anymore. And so bam, in that scene we get all the Mandalorians that was probably inside the building with the Smith, and they come to help, and they help him escape with the baby. So what do I think about this? Again, my thoughts about the Mandalorians is that I just can't believe the way that they're going with the direction of the Mandalorians as a warrior society. And so I'm a little bit more curious to see, but also too, I kind of want to step away and just enjoy the Mandalorians in the original EU, but I won't. I will continue to compare and contrast. And so we have yet to see what the development is of this with the baby, where they're gonna go. And again, the baby was also in a little medic bed with the monitor over it, so we don't know what was going on when he rescued it. If they took DNA samples, and we don't know if there's rumors of cloning. We don't know if they're going to clone, or if they were going to explore the Force sensibility of this baby, but they wanted to kill it. So, but the scientist said that he tried to hold off on it. So we shall see. So my rating for this is probably 3.5 thumbs up out of 5. And the whole, so far, all 3 will even up to a 3.5 together. And I'm curious to see how they are going to develop their Mandalorians. and I'm anxious to compare and contrast that. So you guys have a great day.